Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching today on the Summer Sunday stream. We are glad that you're here. My name is Inoy Janarf Mas.
My name is Dracula Liakum.
And my name is Sebastian Geslick.
Ooh. And today's backwards day. If you didn't figure that out, just kidding, it's not. It is a special day though. Today is actually our last Summer Sunday stream. Maybe you noticed that the morning when you walk out the door, some of the days are a little bit more brisk and it actually feels super nice. But the fall is coming and we are not gathering, we are not having a Summer Sunday stream next Sunday because it's Labor Day weekend and because we are launching in the fall the following weekend. So here's what that means for Breakaway and Edge.
So for Edge, September 13th, we're kicking it off with a downtown dash. We're going to be outside. We're going to be in Lake Orion. Remember last year when we did the road rally?
And it rained?
Yes, it's that minus all the car rides. So come to the downtown dash, meet your peers, meet your leaders, and then find out the people who are going to be in your group for a little while as we figure out the next couple of steps.
That's going to be awesome for Edge. For Breakaway, what we have going is a couple days before that, on September 11th, we are going to be getting together at Bear Creek Nature Park. And we're going to have a blast, going to have some food, some teaching, probably worship, whatever. It's going to be amazing. And then after that, we are going to have the After Bash. It's an add-on for 8th graders. So you'll hear more about that if you're in 8th grade. But for everyone, we are going to be getting together next Friday, the 11th, 6 o'clock. Don't miss it.
So make sure you guys stay tuned and remember to tell your parents to check their emails and look at anything that we send them regarding to what's coming in the future. We really want you guys to know and be engaged and join us and get ready for what God is going to do in your lives and get ready to get into groups again.
Well, we're continuing the You Effect series, and it's been great so far. Talking about the effects that we have on other people. Now, I know for some of you, you might have some instances like me where there are times where I might not have a great effect on somebody. I know there are some people I don't have a good effect on, and maybe you want to change that. Maybe you don't. Hopefully you do. The good news is that if you do, Jesus can actually help you do that.
But before we dive into that, Stan, is there anything you wish that you could ever change?
Ooh, anything I wish I could change? Anything. Feels kind of like time travel. Anything to change? Yes. Kelsey.
Oh, okay.
When I was in college, I was studying for a final exam. So it's like a big old test, okay? And I was studying, and I was staying up late. I had a bad habit in college when I just stayed up really late, sometimes all night. I think my freshman year, I stayed up, I think I counted, it was like 17 all-nighters that I pulled during that year. And you think about that, like that's like half of a month, like if you condense it, which is not how it went, but that's a lot of them. And I placed one of them right before a final exam. So I was like studying. I can remember I woke up and I had my hand on my book, and my book was on my bed. I was like sitting on the floor really awkwardly. I woke up and I looked, and my exam was at 9 o'clock. And I woke up and it was 9:30. And the class, I think, was probably only an hour and a half. And it's a 15-minute rollerblade to get there, okay? So, I mean, I got there as fast as I could. 9:45, walk in the door. I just had this feeling of defeat. And I wish I could change that. I wouldn't have stayed up all night the night before. That's what I would have changed.
That sounds awful.
Yeah.
Seriously, that sounds awful.
What was the exam?
Economics.
Macro or micro?
Macroeconomics.
Both of those classes would be terrible. Everything about that story was terrible.
Yep, I agree.
Seriously. I mean, time travel would not be too bad. It'd be cool if that could happen, but Jesus doesn't really do that in us. However, if we let him, he does have many challenges for us. One of the great things about him is he's always trying to flip the tables in our lives to make us more like him. And if we allow him, he will make changes in us.
Yeah. Yep, I love that. And I think, too, about Jesus, if he changes us, he changes the effect that we have on others, right? So he has that ability to change not only us, but because he changes us, he changes the effect that we have. Think about it like this. Like if you think of your favorite pizza, like your favorite kind of pizza, think of the restaurant where you get it, think of what's on it. Maybe you get the extra cheese, maybe the stuffed crust, I don't know. But you think about that. Now, if I take like the best ingredient about that out, like let's say I take the sauce out, you're going to be able to notice that. Like that's going to have an effect when you eat it, right? You're going to be like, this tastes funny. You know, it take the cheese out. This tastes really funny, and it looks funny. It changes the effect. Now, Jesus, it's not really like that. It's not really like taking an ingredient and changing us in that sense, but it's more like if you left a piece of pizza in the fridge for like a month and then took it out and left it on the counter for like another month, and then you took a bite of it, like that kind of effect, like that's bad. But then instead of that, Jesus comes in bringing that fresh dough, fresh slice, fresh everything delicious about it, and then you get to enjoy that instead of the moldy, probably like I wouldn't even want to think about what that piece of pizza looked like that left out in the fridge. And yeah, gross. And now you get the brand new. Okay, that's what Jesus does. He changes us so much. He really, like you said, he flips the table. He flips it like 180 degrees, changes everything. And so that's when he does that, he changes the effect. He doesn't just change us, but because he changes us, it changes the effect that we have on others.
Our story today is what inspires that idea and truth. So our story today is about a woman who worships at Jesus' feet. The religious people of the time had given her the identity of a sinner, and that's kind of the effect that she ends up having on people around her, because that was the identity that was placed on her by people around her. It's also the same for us. The labels that have been put on us and the identity that's been given to us affect how we affect the people around us. But Jesus comes and changes all of that.
Here's what it says. A woman in that town who lived a sinful life learned that Jesus was eating at the Pharisee's house. So she came there with an alabaster jar of perfume. As she stood behind him at his feet weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears. Then she wiped them with her hair, kissed them, and poured perfume on them. When the Pharisee who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, "If this man were a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is, that she is a sinner." Then Jesus turned toward the woman and said to Simon, "Do you see this woman? I came into your house. You did not give me any water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, but this woman from the time I entered has not stopped kissing my feet. You did not put oil on my head, but she has poured perfume on my feet. Therefore, I tell you, her many sins have been forgiven, as her great love has shown. But whoever has been forgiven little loves little." Then Jesus said to her, "Your sins are forgiven."
So it's an interesting story, because here's Jesus in the middle of a group of people I probably wouldn't want to hang with. Right? He's with the religious elite. They also probably were pretty wealthy, and he's hanging with them. And then this lady comes in, and she's got a lot of baggage. You know, she was clearly known as somebody who had been through a lot, had done a lot of bad things. Maybe even her family was a part of that too. And she comes in, just quietly sits down, and breaks this box of perfume and starts rubbing it on Jesus' feet. That's weird. I don't care who you are. Like, we forget the weirdness of that whole situation. Imagine that happened at your next dinner party. So someone comes in off the street, your next game night, sprays your feet with hand sanitizer, just goes to town with their hair. I mean, weird, right? And actually, one of the parts that we didn't read is that they were upset. Their response was about money. You know, why would she waste that much money? Almost like, so what that makes me think, she probably didn't have a lot. So they were judging a poorer person for what she was doing with her money. And so it's just so many dynamics going on. So everybody, you got some people casting labels, you got someone who's living in a label, and Jesus also has Simon there who's like trying to figure out who do I side with? Do I side with her? Do I side with these guys? I mean, they're pretty cool. So so Jesus has got so many things so many people he's trying to talk to in that moment.
Sure.
What I think I see here is a really powerful transformation, actually. The way that the Pharisees saw this woman, I don't think really changed, or maybe they thought less of her even more because they thought she was wasting the money on this perfume. But the way that we see her does change. I think we see her more in a different identity light, that she was bringing something really expensive that really mattered a lot at that time, and was casting it at Jesus' feet. And it was like one of the most powerful ways of worship that we can really see. And I think that is where the big truth lies in this, that our identity and the way that we see Jesus and the label that he gives us is more important than the labels that other people give us, because that is going to have a bigger effect on those people around us when we start living out that identity that God has given us.
That's awesome. Yeah, and depending on what your journey has looked like, maybe this story resonates with you in a couple different ways. Maybe some of you identify with the woman because you've made mistakes, or because you feel like people have put labels or put burdens on you, or the labels that you do have feel more like lids than freeing, right? Because this woman was labeled a sinner, and then she walks out and Jesus says that you are forgiven, and so that's kind of her new label in that sense. So we want to be wearing labels that feel like that are that, but some of us maybe are wearing some of the labels that are more limiting, right? The good news is that there is hope for you if that is where you resonate. But then maybe some of us have felt more like Simon, or more like the Pharisees who were being judgmental, because we've seen people who have made mistakes, and we say, wow, they're like, this is who they are, this is what they're like, and so we have expectations in our head when we see them, and now all of a sudden we're judgmental. And that's not a label we want either. I can say this as someone who I feel like has been in both spots at different times. It's that Jesus can change the label, and he can change us, and he can change the effect that we have on others. Okay, so I wanted to bring back around that story that I shared earlier about the exam, because I walked in, right? I woke up late. I got there late. I thought I was done because I thought I was going to fail. I thought I was going to get a big old 0. And I walk in, and I walk up to my professor, and I explain what happened. I just say, "Oh my gosh, I was studying late, and I slept through my alarm." And he says, "You know what? It's okay. Come by my office at the end of the day, and I'll have you retake the exam then." And I was floored, because I was like, this is college. Like, these guys are like, they're not messing around. But he showed me such grace in a moment when I needed it. And it's crazy because the effect that my actions caused should have been a 0, should have been a failure. But because of this teacher, because of his actions, the effect was changed, and my effect was changed. And this is what the gospel is. This is what Jesus does for us.
Yes, and this is the good news for us. Like, Jesus changes the effect we have on others by changing us, right? He sees what's on the inside, and when we live in that, it has an effect on other people. And we know this because we're still talking about this lady.
Yep.
Right? So her story continues on. Well, we don't even know fully. We don't even know her name, do we?
Nope.
It's not mentioned in there. But her story still has an effect. Because she was trusting in something she knew that God knew about her. So we want to take a quick moment and walk through this together with a little bit of an exercise. So go get a pen and a piece of paper. Seriously, right now. Pause it if you have to. Okay, so now that you've got it, what we want to do is we're going to take a look at the labels in our lives that either we have placed on ourselves or someone else has placed on us, or think of some ways that maybe you have been like the Pharisee towards some other people. You know, some way that you have judged somebody else. Maybe there's somebody like that you cannot stand, but maybe there's something God wants to show you about that person so that you can see the way that Jesus sees. So think of your labels or somebody else's label, because the reality is he has something that he calls us. Yep. God has an identity for us, and we need to live in that. But the only way we can do that is by acknowledging the things that aren't true so we can find truth. Mm-hmm. So take a moment, write down the labels that have been placed on you or that you've placed on somebody else.
Yeah. So now that you've done that, you got to take that piece of paper and you're going to crumple it up. You can throw it in the trash, try to make a basket. You can burn it, but not inside the house. And we have some truth for you. So new labels that come from the Bible and that should affect you in a different way when you look at them. So people call us a variety of different things, but here are just some of the things that God calls us.
Accepted.
Adopted.
Daughter.
Son.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
Marvelous.
Called.
Chosen.
Loved.
Redeemed.
Free.
Protected.
Or forgiven.
Just like the woman in the story.
So go ahead and grab another piece of paper and write down maybe one of those names we just read off, or maybe there's another name that God has for you. And if you don't have paper, let one of those names, one of those things, one of those new labels stick with you and sit with you, because it is something that Jesus says about us, about you. And he changes us, and he changes the effect that we have on each other. Just how he changed the woman in this story, he changes us still today.
We're so glad you guys joined us today for our last Sunday summer stream. Make sure you guys remember that next week, September 6th, Labor Day weekend, we do not have anything going on, but we do have our launch events coming up and small groups launching soon. So make sure you guys are looking out for that information. Make sure you sign up and that you join us later.
Come on.
Bye.
Oh, what is that voice?
Let's get ready to
Let's get ready to rumble! Sifat Cirque. Sifat Cirque. Sifat Cirque. Sifat Cirque. Yes, like. For whose?
For yours. I'm on vacation.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
We're going to be getting together at Bear Creek Nature Park in Orion, Rochester. Wow!
Time travel would not be too bad.
My rollerblading is awful.
Time and take a quick extra, have a quick.
Forgiven.
Just like the woman in the story.
Ooh, God, that was dope. I didn't know you were going to do that. Now, if you were still close by to a set of paper, grab a piece and write down one of these.
Paper.